Welcome back to the Beans Report. Sheriff Richard Roundtree is our guest today, and as promised, I want to talk about the active shooter. That's something that's dominated the headlines since 1999 when we saw those kids shoot up Columbine High School out in Colorado. Sheriff, that has sparked a lot of programs across the country where law enforcement agencies will try to talk to people in the workplace about preventing a breach, preventing these people from entering their workplace or their college campus. I can't think of a more powerful program than the one I saw from your office here at Television Park just a couple of weeks ago. What made you all decide to do that, and what can we do to stay safe at work? I know that's a broad question.
Absolutely. Education, like all things, are the key. You know, when you're talking about active shooters, those incidents that you really can't prepare yourself for, but you can prepare yourself how you're going to react to it. And that's what we try to tell people. That the actions you take after an event happens or during the event is happening can possibly save your life as well as a coworker.
The biggest thing I saw, Sheriff, or heard when the presentation was made by Richmond County Sheriff's officers was get out of there. You know, try to escape. Excuse me, so many times we think crouch down, hide, wait till it's over. But they were pretty much saying, if you can, get out of there, because the guy with the gun is not going to be thinking or trying to give you, you know, they're just going to be reactive and shooting as fast as they can. Do you tell people that? Try to have an escape plan?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we say, you know, is your actions when it's occurring. You know, for many times, and we've adjusted and evolved our philosophy over the years, and sometimes it was a hover in place and shelter in place.
Right.
But now it's about survival, because, like I say, now these active shooters, even though in our workplace it hits us so abruptly, these shooters now you're seeing have trained for it. They've studied for it. We saw in Virginia Tech when we studied that, went through some FBI training there, where they had footage and evidence of that particular person target practicing with targets on the ground, as knowing where the subjects are going to be.
Yeah.
Not shooting up, but shooting down at the ground, hitting targets. So we're seeing more as we learn and we educate ourselves. Now we're seeing that, again, the active shooter is happening in that particular place, and we try to get you out of that particular area because it becomes a survival. So in your mind, you need to be thinking about where your exits. If something was to happen, where's the first place I'm going to go? Because we got to overcome that fear. Again, when you hear gunfire, people stop.
Right.
And they freeze. So that's why it's so important to have these discussions and have these drills, not to bring panic to people, but to let them know that, unfortunately, there's violence in our workplace, there's violence in our schools that happens, and when it does, we have to be prepared. When I was with the school board and we used to do active shooter drills, and I used to tell my guys, I said, when it's happening, when you're going through these students, I said, your main purpose is every student you come across, that's the life you're trying to save. You're trying to save every life you encounter. And a lot of times they say they're trying to get the shooter. You're trying to save as many lives as you possibly can. And that's what we expect people to do, or we want people to try to do, is overcome that natural urge to freeze.
To just freeze.
Because that's what gunfire does. And to find a way to get yourself out. And then if it comes down to it, if you're confronted with active shooter, and we don't encourage this in any other circumstance when we talk about a person with a felony, but we encourage them to fight back. Because again, that person is set to destroy lives. He's not just going to stop because you're begging for your life, or they think you're nice. When they're in that particular state of mind, they're out for destruction. So if it ever gets down to it, you will at least have a chance, a shot at survival. And like I said, and it may not just be you, but a coworker's life that you may save, or two coworkers' lives that you may save. So again, we keep doing the narrative of educating people and giving them as much insight and training as we possibly can.
Will you take that program to any workplace?
Absolutely. When people call us, we do security assessment checks for businesses. We do presentations if we give them enough time. That's what the sheriff office is here for. We are a community-based sheriff office, and to make it clear, we don't charge a dime for any of the services that we provide to our citizens.
I'm telling you, folks, it's extremely powerful, and it changed a lot of lives here at Television Park. A few quick topics I want to hit before you go. Let's talk about your traffic division, how it's doing, and what people should do if they have a complaint about speeders or anything. I know that's probably the #1 phone call you get is people go too fast in my neighborhood. How are things going on the streets?
Well, we're using our traffic division again to try to modify people's behavior. That's that's why I tell people it's a misconception that we get revenue from traffic tickets.
Right.
And I keep telling them we get 15% of a traffic ticket, and it only can be used for jail construction. It cannot be used to do the operations of the sheriff office. So people understand that we're not. That's not a revenue base for us. We're trying to modify behavior, and speed kills, and we've seen that. Our focus this year, what we're trying to do is the #1 cause of traffic accidents is driving too closely. So when you, especially, I think everyone has been somewhere and they see that person right up on their tail.
Oh yeah.
And tailgating them, and it's how frustrating you get. So we're focusing on that and aggressive drivers on that, because we see that's where accidents are happening. So the purpose of our traffic division, again, is to save lives and to reduce traffic accidents and fatalities, and I think we've done that over the years. So we just want people to understand that when you see these lights and you see people being pulled over, we're trying to modify their behavior so it doesn't become a fatality scene, or it doesn't become a fiery crash or something of that nature. That's our main purpose.
Let me ask you about social media, especially, again, for younger people or their parents who are watching. Can a threat that you make on social media go to a point where you're breaking the law, or where the sheriff's office could step in?
Absolutely. You know, we created an intel division, and unfortunately, they stay extremely busy with social media, especially gang activities or violent offenders that we know of. But if you get a complaint, or if you get something, we ask you to try to save, because people bring stuff down, and we definitely investigate it, because we've seen, and I'll give you an example. When we were started off our fair last year, we had an individual on social media threatening he was going to bring a gun to the fair and cause trouble. Our intel unit quickly identified that person, had a picture of that person, passed it on to deputies, and he wasn't spotted trying to get into the gates of the fair with a weapon. Wow. And he had some other individual with him who had burglary too, so we were able to arrest about 3 people. Because this person was on social media, it was reported to us, and we could avoid something extremely tragic. I think we did avoid something extremely tragic, but we take them very seriously, and that's why the Intel Division monitors that. So people have to understand social media is a wonderful tool if you want to connect with people, but understand that criminals are using it to identify you, to see your patterns. Like my mother said, don't tell everybody all your business.
No doubt. It's true. It can get you in trouble. Sheriff, I knew that when you were going to be here for the whole show that it was not enough, that we needed to do 2 shows with you, or 3, but I appreciate you staying here the whole half hour, and thank you for all you do.
Absolutely. Anytime we can get the word out, I thank you for that.
Absolutely. Sheriff Richard Roundtree, Richmond County, Georgia, working on his 4th year. I cannot believe it already. When we come back, a wonderful story to continue our law enforcement theme. This one will be uplifting for you, I promise. We'll be right back with more of the Means Report.